it down with the tool in his chain. Now, my ladies, let me see it vibrate. And when it's sold, you ain't gonna need your bird. Cause I'm a pro, make you bend your back, yo. So you moving your head, you can bring the bed straight back in the girl, say, make it the right shit. Damn, I'm so good, sit back, they have enough to it. Girl, gotta get like you gotta be Christian. I'm like, oh, this like you gotta be gifted. The girls all careful, and they won't be this, and they gon' cry. See that? They don't the bed while I'm saying the scriptures. Cause I leave you only like a prayer to temple. Why me? I'm moving the level pencil. And mine's on this shit, that might get you. Take it down now, cause you got 50. And all day, now you get around, leave this shit.
I'm coming at you from down here at Myrtle Beach. I'm thinking it's like 8:30 in the morning. The wife's up in the room getting showered and all that stuff, and I figured I'd come down here a little bit early and check things out because we have a big day planned. We're on our anniversary week / vacation, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And believe it or not, what I found out from an Uber driver or two is that, as expected, it's a vacation spot, and coming out of the last year of a lot of vacations not going on due to pandemics and whatnot, you know, they had a great July 4th weekend. We came in a few days after that, but apparently in June, this place was just hopping big time with all sorts of like events. I don't know if she said car show or what was going on. So June was pretty busy down here. And the freaking ocean is just beautiful down here. We've been on piers, we've been down on the beach, and I've actually got some watercolor and sketches going on. The watercolors are horrible, but I'm not. But other than that, but I did manage to go and see about a few comic books. Now, with all the events that went on and all the reviews I'm reading on Google when I try to find stuff around here, it looks like things have been pretty much wiped out, or they didn't really have that much to begin with. The flea markets are dry around here. We just went to 3 or 4 on a Sunday morning before we decided to go eat, but I did find one book. And then we found an indoor flea market where I found a few things. Then I looked up online all the comic book shops around here, and there seems to be some fun comic book shops, but the reviews, some of them go back to 2 days. They have 0 back issues. So I'm not really going to waste my time, because if you get caught in traffic down here, you're stuck anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half just trying to go 8 or 9 miles. But I did pick up a few things, and I'll show them to you here while you enjoy this glorious beach around you. See if we can pan around there. And then we're going to get on with our day. I think we have some shopping. I'm going to go back on the beach today, and I'll show you some things I got. Okay. So the first thing I got is a hardback from Ollie's. They have 2 or 3 Ollie's down here. This was pretty sure $3.99.
Jellyfish time.
And and basically this is from a story in 1991. That was 3 issues by Grant Morrison before he was really a superstar, but he's on his way up. And he turned around, and this is pretty much about a comedian who's our eyes of the story. He's the reader. And he turns around, ends up dying, goes to hell, and meets Kid Eternity, who's actually Freddie Freeman, Captain Marvel Jr.'s brother. But of course, they're Vertigo guys in it. So the comedian ends up going back with Kid Eternity back into hell. So I read this in 91, 3 issues, and I haven't really read it since then. So, you know, this is going to be on the shelf that I can pull down. Another Ollie's buy that I got was Section 8. I have the miniseries, but this is by Garth Ennis and John McCrae, and you know, the guys who do Hitman, a very underrated series from the 90s that Garth Ennis did. He hates superheroes, so it kind of cracked me up that he was having a comic book that was properly in the DC universe. And some of the characters he had in here was this character Six-Pack of some really weird heroes that are hilarious, like Dog Welder. He would actually weld a dog to people. He carries around a bag of dogs and a welding equipment, and it just cracked me up because there for a little bit in the late 90s and early 2000s, Dog Welder had a fan following just because he was so bizarre. And now here's the big one I got. I have these stacked in a bag, but I found this for $5. I was at a flea market, and it's really wild to see flea markets in different regions. Down here, they don't have a winter. You know what I mean? I think it rarely snows, if ever. You know, we're way down here in South Carolina. So they lay out their flea markets completely different, and it gets more junked up. I guess because they don't have an off season, I'm guessing. But the guy tried to sell me a box of pretty common books for $80. And he was really trying to push it and sell it. Now, they'll call you over down here. That's what amazes me. But he went through and he said $80 for this box. And I was just like, no, I got most of these comics. So I was flipping through there. And as I found the first cameo appearance of Apocalypse here, he was sitting there telling me that some comic book expert came through and told him you do not ask for less than $5 a book in this set. And I was just sitting here thinking, your comic book expert is, I wanted to say some things. I'm like, he's silly. So anyway, I ended up getting this, and I gave the guy $5 just to honestly get him away from me. He really was trying to push that box of comics to the point where I was just like, here's $5, leave me alone, I'm taking this book. So that was cool to find, and that's really the biggest grail I found. Now these are dollar books, every one of these. And so I'm gonna go through these pretty quick. But Sandman Mystery Theater by Matt Wagner back in the 90s. This was a fantastic series. Here's number 55. So I'm always looking for these. And then I got a Vertigo preview book. Now this is fantastic because this came out around the time they were announcing Neil Gaiman's Sandman Overture. And it has a few previews of other books that were coming out through the last day of Vertigo. Astro City is in here. That moved over from Image and Homage Studios and Wildstorm. So I put that on there. Void Indigo #1 from I think 1984. This was a graphic novel by Doug Munch and I think Paul Galassi. And then it went into a series. Now this is beat up, but it's a #1 issue. So I'm sort of, Steve Gerber, excuse me. It was Steve Gerber. I'm on the beach and people are watching me and apparently I'm getting shy. But anyway, it's Steve Gerber. And he doesn't write comics, he writes mind trips. I found a Warren Ellis Image comic from the 90s, Sword of Damocles. And I'm just kind of curious to see what it is because it's a prelude to their crossover series at Wildstorm in the 90s, Fire from Heaven. So kind of glad to find that. Okay. Completing my Valiant Shadow Man run, so I found issue 42 out there. There's just not a lot to say about that. Issue 43 was the last issue. Found 3 issues of The Destroyer, and apparently these are by Walt Simonson. If you watch the movie Remo Williams in 1985, that's what The Destroyer is about. This was a series of pulp novels that had a huge fan following from the 70s into the early 2000s, I believe. There's well over 100 little pulp novels of the story of Remo Williams and Chung with Sinanju, the source son of all martial arts, and it's hilarious. It's tongue-in-cheek and funny. And you know, Chung ended up being a big lover of soap operas to the point he ended up working for Hollywood, consulting on movies, and got pissed off when they changed his movies. It was hilarious. Now this is a character that I'm really into called Armor. It's just one of those things, the pure design that I saw when I was 12 years old from Neil Adams. It's Continuity Comics. And this came out sporadically for years in 2 or 3 different volumes, and there's really nothing story-wise to sit there and really brag about, but basically this guy and his brother were kidnapped by an alien. He learned a martial arts from space. His suit, every piece of the armor will come off of a steel magnetic mesh body armor that he has, and he can make different kind of weapons out of them, knives and such. And then he got into a big fight, a martial arts fight with the guy who abducted him and his brother. He got an eye put out, so he has a crystal eye in there, and it's just a cool character. And then these were the books that I already have these, but I grabbed these when I can find them. But in the late 80s, to celebrate Total Eclipse's, like, I think 10-year company anniversary, Marv Wolfman came in as a favor. I actually got to talk to Marv Wolfman at Heroes Con about this series. But they came out with a 5-issue series, which was their answer to Crisis on Infinite Earths. And they brought in all these characters that were owned by their creators, if you will. And they did their version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. All Marv Wolfman really had to say when I asked him, like, what was up with that, he said none of these characters should have been put together ever. So you have the Prowler, you have Strike. If you know those Eclipse characters, the Heat pops up, Airboy pops up, Miracle Man pops up. Anything that was published by Eclipse, Mr. Spook, I think is his name, from Bean World. But the big one in this one, as I try to show them, Bill Sienkiewicz did the covers for him. Okay, these were $1 a piece. And here's number 5. And like I said, I already have all of these. But this is the one that was actually hard to get, and it was actually a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a key book, but it was really coveted by a few people there for a few years, because Neil Gaiman did a backup story that ties into Miracle Man in the back of issue number 4 of this, and it's fantastic. It's a boy who is laying in bed with a woman whose face we never sees. The Age of Miracles has happened. Miracle Man and Kid Miracle Man had this humongous fight. Big war popped out or something. And I think people actually thought the end of the world was coming. So this boy decides he's going to lose his virginity, and he sits up in bed, smokes a cigarette, talks about how he always wanted a cigarette after losing his virginity, and then he just starts pouring his heart out, and we get to hear about the world he lives in thanks to the Age of Miracles from Miracle Man, how Miracle Man is affecting this world. So I don't know if it's the first Neil Gaiman Miracle Man story, but people who, Neil Gaiman was becoming a superstar thanks to Sandman on this. Miracle Man was getting acclaim thanks to Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman getting ready to take it over. So yeah, the people that were in the know, the serious comic book readers were into this stuff, right? So that's it, and let's take a minute just to look at the beach. Thanks for tuning in, and you guys have an excellent day.